boy P. Frank with me. And we letting everybody know who got a dream. Yo, stay focused. Keep moving forward. It's on the way. Keep that dream alive. If you got a dream, don't look to the left, nor the right, nor the right.
Your faith is in Jesus. Completion is here before you even begin. Dreaming big of my life in the future. Already knowing that it's not far. Having the passion to work towards Jesus. I'm gonna keep my faith and swagger going hard. Don't turn the light. Just look straight. You don't have to fear more.
Well, welcome, and happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. I am your host, Yolanda, and on my show, you will hear stories from people who have experienced hell on earth and have walked past hell to share their story. You will also hear what they are doing now and how their businesses, nonprofit, or ministry was birthed from their past trauma. So let's empower the world one life story at a time. So before we get started, I'd appreciate it if you share this broadcast and please tag a few people so they can hear what's going down tonight. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do so, and we'll be right back. All right. Well, we're back. So guess what? Today's special guest is Patrick Sober Davis. He is the CEO and founder for 2DM Rides magazine. He has a network that promotes the local car scene and also is in 5 countries. Yes, I said 5 countries. I am so excited about what he has going on. He's also an accomplished photographer. So yes, he is a man of many skills. 2DM has raised over $20,000 in donations for various charities such as Friends of Cancer Center, also March of Dimes, St. Jude, and Wounded Warrior Project. So again, thank you for tuning in and help me welcome Patrick Sober Davis to the show. All right, so let's go. Hey, Patrick, how you doing?
I'm all right. How you doing? How you doing, everybody? Thanks for being here.
Well, I'm excited. You know, people don't know that sometimes I have individuals on my show that I know and some people that I don't know. And what I found is that even the ones that I do know, there's stories that I don't know about them. So I'm excited because I know this title that we have tonight and what you told me we're going to be talking about. This is also my first time hearing this story. So I'm letting my audience know, guess what? Even though I know Patrick Sober Davis, trust me, I don't know everything about him. And I've known him for many, many years. So again, please share this broadcast out. He's about to drop some information today that all of us are hearing for the first time. So thanks again, Patrick, for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So look, let's dive on in and let's get started. So Patrick, just tell us, where were you born and raised? And could you give us a little bit about your childhood, if that's okay?
Sure. Definitely a country boy. So born and raised in a little small town called Holly Grove, Arkansas. It's like in the southeastern portion of Arkansas. And I grew up in a little town called Marble where my mom moved us to, and it was very tough. It was a very tough childhood. You know, I was born in 1969, so you can only imagine how things were back then. And I grew up very, very poor. But you know what? We was together. We had fun, and probably if you didn't tell us we were poor, we wouldn't know we was poor. And we struggled, but our goal was something my mom always said: I want you to do better than what I could have done for you, and that stayed in our minds, and that was our goal to get out of that situation and all, and we did.
Wow. So you say you grew up sometimes even in the past, we don't realize, how good we got it right now, and today when we've come through, you know, places where we thought we were poor or we went through some things, and not realize that no matter where we are in life, that's still a part of who we are, even though we try to, do better in life. So I thank you so much for just sharing that little bit about your childhood. Now I know that, you also served in the military, right? And
Yes.
so if that's okay,
Yes.
can you go ahead and let everybody know what branch of service that you served in and a little bit about that experience too, if you don't mind?
Sure. I served in the Army, joined in 1992, and worked my way up. I, been all over the place, many deployments. Served in 82nd Airborne Division, also group, doing a lot of stuff that the infantry guys did because that was most of the units that I was in. So they kept me mentally fit and physically fit at the same time, and and it kept me focused during my deployments. Numerous deployments that I did. Airborne, I jumped out the plane with them, and you name it, I did it. And I retired in 2012. I had fun. That was my life. It changed my life. From a country boy joining the military, it was something that I needed to do, and I'm blessed because I did it.
Well, I want to say thank you for your service. I always try to make sure that I acknowledge and give honor where it's due because I'll tell you right now, look, I couldn't have served up in the Army. I'm just gonna keep it real.
Why? Why? Why you couldn't do that?
Hey, people, they mess with me all the time and they say, hey, you were in the Air Force, you served in the Chair Force. But I always come back with something and I say, guess what? You know what? We got paid the same pay. No matter what your rank is and what your grade is, we got paid the same. And guess what? We had the better quality of life. And I'm just gonna go ahead and just say it and claim it.
I was about to get ready to say that because the Army guys, we can talk all the stuff. Almost every branch going to talk about the Air Force, but we couldn't wait to go to the Air Force dining facility. We couldn't wait to get to an Air Force base because it was just so much better than what we had. So yeah, you're right. You did have that better quality of life than we did. Definitely.
Yeah. So with that being said, I know you probably learned a lot while you were in the military, as we all do, right? We all do learn a lot of things in the military that we wouldn't have necessarily learned if, we hadn't gone through that experience. And I know some of those things, we tend to hold on to, but I think it's for the better. Some people think it's for not the better because of the things that they've gone through, but I know that's part of who we are. So again, thank you so much for your service in the Army. That's one of the things. Thank you. And that's one of the things that we can say that we've done, for our country. So moving forward, I want to get into this title though. So let's get into this title.
Oh,
the title says, welcome to the Dr. Ilana Jerry Show, but your title is Overcoming a Drunken Soul. Now look, that title speaks volumes. Now, do you want me to call you Patrick or do you want me to call you Sober?
Which one? Let's go to Sober right now. Let's
okay.
move on. Let's move on from Patrick, and it'll be Sober now because that's what it is.
So, and I was like, let me ask him, which one he want to be called at this point, because I know that name Sober ties into what your title is about, but now we need to dig a little deeper. So let's talk about that title. Okay. That title comes from, I would say, maybe a dark place,
Yes.
right? A dark place in your life where you have been. So can you go ahead and just share your story and your experience of how, why it's titled as such, and also, that name, because they both intertwine and go together.
Yes. During my time in the military, when I got stationed in Germany, being single, wilding out, doing whatever I want to do. Um, you know, I met a young lady, and she was from Louisiana, and didn't know at the time, but she already had a daughter. So I was like, well, I don't have any kids. I want to be a father. It's time for me to be a father. I got myself together. At the time, I believe I had myself together, and so when we got together, I didn't realize how much she drank. I know I was drinking a lot because I was wilding out, hanging out with my boys. I was doing whatever I wanted to. But now I felt like at the time I got some responsibility. And with her drinking and me drinking, I decided, you know what, I need to stop. So I just went on and decided, a lot of time people can give you a different story of what made it happen. But for me, I just said, I can't do it no more. So I just stopped drinking. But she continued on. She continued on drinking. Her drinking kind of got a little bit more violent and everything. And I said to myself, you know what? I got to be the sober one in this house. I have to be. And that's what I focus on. I focus on being sober. And then as I kept believing that, I just said, you know what? I don't really have a nickname, hanging out with my boys. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be sober. And they're like, sober? How you going to be sober and you drink? And I like, you know what? I don't drink anymore. What you mean you don't drink anymore? So I got a family now. I gotta be here for my daughter. And then later on, my son was born. And then we had one more kid and all, but she didn't stop drinking. She didn't stop. And it was just a toxic marriage that we had. And I just like, no, I just stuck with being sober. And I had to do that. I had to do that for my kids. Not only I had to do that for my kids, I had to do that for my career, because, they was a lot of my friends was getting busted, DUIs, losing their career. And I'm like, no, I don't want to go back to Arkansas. I don't want to go back to where I've told myself I'm never going back to that way. So I just stopped drinking altogether, and sober became my nickname, and people laughed and all that. They're like, well, you be sober. I just kept that name for the whole time, So, and that's where it came from a bad relationship that I was in, bad marriage and all that. And I just had to focus on my kids. I couldn't do it.
Wow. It's amazing how our relationships can play a role in the things and the decisions we make in our life. To know that you were in a marriage where, alcohol at some time, for some people, and I can speak for myself too, way back in the day, that was something that some people just did just because it was something to do, right? But they don't realize that, alcohol leads to other things, right? And it can lead to alcoholism, it can lead to depression, it can lead to so much more. And it becomes a toll on your mental health, your physical health, and then all the people that are around you, So to know that you realized that you had to make a decision, right? Because you had a kid, It's like, do I want my child to grow up knowing that this is okay for us as parents to act this way,
Exactly.
And not only that, kids remember what they see. They remember what they see when they're little. I don't care what nobody says, because I know my daughter remembers everything when she was little. I remember everything when I was little, and sometimes that could be a good thing, and sometimes that could be a not so good thing.
You're right.
So I applaud you for taking that step to say, you know what, something's got to give, and if it's going to give, it's going to be me. So thank you so much for sharing it. Now, Sober, I know that you've also experienced, and I want to ask you this question, because even though you went over that hurdle, and came out of that, did you ever relapse? Because I know you have experienced some losses, when it came to family members. So can you share about that too as well?
Yes. I did. When me and my ex-wife, we separated, and then I moved back to the States, and I got not moved. I got my PCS back to the States in military return. I was stationed at Fort Bragg, and on the flight coming from Germany to North Carolina, I cried. I cried like a baby because I was saying to myself, I said, what father, what man would leave his kids in another country, not only a state, but another country? And because the marriage that I was in was so bad, it was affecting my military career because there was a lot of complaints and this and this and that, and I had to get away from it. So I remember calling my brother, and I was like, can I be a father, still not in the household with my kids? And he told me, of course you can. He said, your kids may not understand that now, but they will understand it later on, because if it gets really that bad, you're not going to be in the household anyway. You probably be locked up somewhere. So I had to deal with that. And by being by myself, I end up finding myself doing stuff that I was doing before I got married. Wow. I found myself back, partying. I found myself back drinking and everything else. And it got bad. Kind of worked through it once I met my current wife, and things started getting a little bit better. But then she's also in the military too, so we wasn't married at the time. So we was stationed differently. And once we finally got married, she was still stationed this is a little bit later. She got stationed in Baltimore, Aberdeen Proving Ground, and I was recruiting out in California. Then I got stationed in Fort Hood, Texas. And that's when, in between the time, that's when I experienced losing my mom. I lost my mom after I came back from Iraq in 2004 of cancer. And then I went recruiting in California. So I'm out in California trying to deal with the fact that I lost my mom, trying to deal with this whole new environment and all that. Recruiting hours, we worked from 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, 6 days a week. It was tough. It was tough. And I was like, I felt I did not have a life. My wife now, she got orders. She was deployed. So she's away from me. She's away from me again. So I'm still out there falling right back in the trap again, partying, doing whatever I wanted to, living life like I'm back single again. And then December of 2005, my sister that was battling cancer, I lost her. So now I lost my mom in 2004, October, lost my sister in 2005, December 2005, a little bit after my birthday. So I'm like, my mind is gone. I don't know what to think now. My hero, the woman that took care of me, loved me more than anybody, she is gone. My oldest sister next to my mom and all that, she is gone. And then less than 4 months later, I got a Red Cross message from my family in Arkansas saying my dad had stage 4 advanced prostate cancer. I said, you got to be kidding me. So we just buried mom. We just buried our sister. So you mean to tell me that we're about to lose dad? And I didn't really know nothing about any stages of cancer, even though I lost my sister and I lost my mom. I just wasn't smart on cancer. So I looked everything up and I'm like, so it's no stage 5. And they said, no, it's no stage 5. They said, your dad probably have less than 6 months.
Wow.
And this was April. So my battalion commander, he was really religious and all. He said, we got to get you out of recruiting. But my sergeant major and my first sergeant, they was more like, you know what, we're going to put you on leave and go check on your family and then come back and get back in the fight. And recruiting was so tough out there in California because it ain't like some recruiters that was close to a military base where people normally walks in. We got to go out there and knock on doors. People sick their dogs on you, people pull guns on you and all that. And I got to deal with all the madness that's going on in my mind right now. So I relapsed big time. I started back drinking, and it got kind of bad. Thank God I never got a DUI. I never harmed anybody, but it was me dealing with stuff really, really bad. And then I finally got orders to get ready to go. They was going to move me to Arkansas, Fort Chaffee, Arkansas. That's what I had orders for. And en route in August, it implanted in my mind. And I'm en route, headed back to Arkansas. I told my station commander, I said, I'm out of here. I already cleared my quarters and everything. And then I got the phone call and it said my dad passed. And I was like,
Wow.
I didn't get a chance to say goodbye. So I called him up and I was like, hey man, I just got a message. My father passed. What should I do? He said, keep driving. He said, because if you call back to the battalion and let them know that they're going to cancel your orders and you're going to be back here recruiting. He said, I'm going to pretend like I never got that phone call.
Wow.
And I kept driving. And so at that point, losing my parents, mentally messed up. I wasn't really showing my emotion because mom she always said this, and I got a big family. My mom said, she's like, I raised 8 boys and 6 girls, not 7 boys and 7 girls. So every time I always remember that when I tear up or whatever, mom would be like, man up, I didn't, so I haven't really grieved. I tell you one thing that's hard for me to listen to is gospel songs. I know somebody might say, why you can't listen to gospel song? You don't understand. Gospel song brings the pain out of me. That's why I don't listen to gospel songs. Even the song that you have for this, I hear it and I'll be like, oh, suck it up. Don't. I don't listen to Sunday morning gospel song because that's what my mom used to listen to all the time. And if I listen to them, I probably wouldn't be able to do anything because I'll be over here crying like a baby though. So, so it's been tough. It's been tough. But when my wife finally got stationed where I was at, they moved me from Fort Chaffee to Fort Hood because I trained down in Fort Hood. My wife got here, and that's when we had our first child. That what got me away from drinking again because now my responsibility has changed. It wasn't just me anymore. So I went back to the same narrative that I had before. I got a child, and I can't be drinking around them. I got to be here for them. And it got tough because as soon as I got my wife and my wife told me that she was pregnant, I was so happy, and I extended to stay in the unit that I was in. I found out that I'm on orders for Iraq.
Wow.
And I tried to cancel.
Can't catch a break.
I couldn't. I tried to cancel those orders and they wouldn't. They told me either go to Iraq or get out. And once again, I wasn't prepared to get out. I didn't want to get out. So even though my wife was still active duty, I didn't want to be no dependent. So I like, okay, so I did the tour. October 12th, 2009. My daughter was born September 27, 2009. I was in an IED. I didn't think I was ever going to come home. That deployment was one of the toughest deployments that I had. So every time my daughter celebrates her birthday, it reminds me of the anniversary of the IED that I almost didn't visit her. That's why this past Memorial Day weekend, I'm out there at the cemetery and I'm just looking around and I'm like, it could have been me out here,
Right. So. Look, so man, this is deep. Man, you've suffered trauma after trauma after trauma in such a short time. Look, we're going to talk about this some more because I have some questions. But I'm going to go ahead and go to a commercial break. One of our sponsors for today's show is sponsored by Naturally For Me Shea Butter LLC. And so I'm going to go ahead and show the commercial and we'll come back and we'll get more into the conversation. If that's okay.
That's fine.
And that was Naturally For Me LLC. And as you can see, they also have a promo code hashtag home free for 20% off for the whole month of June. So if you're looking for some shea butter, some beard butter sober, put that plug in there for her.
I know, right?
And all kinds of natural products. Please visit her website again, hashtag home free for 20% off for the whole entire month of June. So let's get back into because I want to dig a little bit. I want to dig when it comes to your grief, right? Because I heard you say, gospel songs bring that back up, remind you of your mom and those kind of things, and I know my show is talking about healing and helping others heal. So how do you, I mean, I know that's probably one of your coping mechanisms, but how long do you think you'll be able to fight that, for one? And two, what other things do you do to cope with, dealing with things that remind you? So that's one, that's my question. But and then we'll go into some other questions too.
It's I don't know how long I'll be able to fight it. You know, I really don't. I just try my best to avoid it. I can get in one of my vehicles on Sunday here in Texas, 103.1. They always play, most black stations are going to have some gospel on it. But I'm so quick to just turn it off. I'll turn it off. I've been doing this since October 2004. So I'd had numerous conversations with my sisters about it. But it's just something I'm so used to doing right now. It just, when I hear it, whether I'm by myself and my wife look at me, I just can't. Because I don't know mentally how am I going to keep responding. You lose your mom, you lose your sister, you lose your dad like that, and you got Father's Day coming up. You got my dad wasn't really in my life too much when I was younger, but when I became a father, he was, and that's what sometimes I regret, the fact that I didn't grow up with him, even though I knew of him. But when he held my son, I looked at him, whatever hatred I had for him, it was gone. But I just figured I had more time.
Right.
And with my mom, my mom was my everything. And my older sister, I remember when she passed, before she passed, I should say, she wanted to see me. She never seen me in my military uniform. And so me and my two brothers in Phoenix, I was in California, we was trying to get to her. And at the time I didn't have the funds to fly out there to see her. So we was going to drive, and I needed my two brothers to drive all the way across the country. She lived in Toledo, Ohio. We was going to go see her, but one of my brothers reneged on us, so we wasn't able to make it. And when I had to call her, and you could tell this, they were saying that she was hallucinating and everything else. But once I told her that I wasn't be able to make it, it seemed like the next day, she was like, okay, I'm going home. I'm going where mom is at. So on a funeral, I wore my uniform. So, for she could see it. And it just, Stephen, with that, I just don't know when I'm going to be able to get over this. I don't know. It's been so long that I've been doing the same thing. I don't know. I really don't.
Wow. I know what it's like to lose a parent, because, in behind conversation and knowing that my father passed, it'll be 4 years this month, 4 years, should I say, in August, that he has passed. And, so of course, Father's Day is coming up and his birthday. They're back to back, June 20th and June 21st.
You look pretty much like my father. I think my father's birthday just passed also.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that I found that has helped me, and this is not me just speaking for many, for everybody, for the masses. So again, I'm not, the expert on grief. I just found ways to cope. My dad listened to gospel music all the time. My daddy listened to music all the time. Right. And so what I did was, because I had that same type of mentality too. It's like I don't want to listen to anything that reminded me of my dad. But I had to figure out how to shift, because it's gonna come a time where you're gonna face that, and you're not gonna know how to come out that pickle, right? Because it's gonna hit you from many different angles. And so it's like, how do I maneuver around that? And sometimes that means just embracing what reminded you of them, and turning it into a positive thing. So now, when I go visit my dad at the cemetery, I actually play all of his Frankie Beverly and Mays, Earth, Wind and Fire. I listen to all the music that he listened to, and it just kind of brings me back to the memories of the things that I did do with him, or did remind me of him. Not necessarily saying that's something that you need to do, but it could be something to consider. And then some of the things that maybe he used to do, like even with you mentioned, him being able to see your child and all those kind of things. I mean, some of the, the connection, the memories of the connection, I find is what helped with me being able to grieve, because the grief is going to happen, right? I cry, I have my ups, I have my downs, and it happens, but I'd rather to have the waves than to always have this fear of I'm going to blow up, or I'm going to break down and not be able to come up out of it. And, one thing I don't want to hear happen, because I know you're my friend, you've been my brother for a while, is to find out, okay, sober, and I went back unsober, right? Because you couldn't handle your grief. So, again, I just encourage you to find ways to cope besides avoiding, because avoiding is just type of a way of saying I don't want to deal with it. But sometimes we have to realize that we have to embrace, even though we don't want to, because it makes things easier for us. I'm not saying that it's gonna I'm not saying that it's something that's going to be great, but it does make things easier, make it easier to cope. So just something to think about. That's, like I said, something that's been helping me. I mean, just as simple as, cooking the lasagna that my daddy always wanted me to make, or, I don't like, we talk about cars all the time, right? You're a car enthusiast, I love cars and motorcycles, but, those are the things that my daddy used to be excited about, and it's just like, I told you that I started riding my motorcycle. I hadn't rode in a while, and people have passed away, but I still have to come to grips with that. And it's like, am I going to allow what has happened to them stop? Because they wouldn't want me to stop, it's just like, am I going to allow this to keep me where I'm at, for fear of not being able to just feel those emotions?
No, you're absolutely right. I try. I put like this. I got to work on it. I have to work on it. But it is tough. It is so tough to deal with at times. It ain't even tough talking to you right now. I don't even know if you can see it, but it's like my eyes get watery because
it's okay. Allow yourself to feel those feelings, though. It's okay. My daddy always said a real man cries. So it's okay. Yeah. It's okay to embrace those feelings, because it lets you know that you're human, right? You're not perfect. You're not, you're not God, but God provides us the things that we need to be able to endure, those tough times. Like Darissa said, she said, it's going to always come in waves, bruh. Ride them.
That is true. That is true.
And you also have Nicole Peters. She said, yes, we must embrace so we don't break. So just even some encouragement from the people that's watching this show.
Well, I definitely appreciate it.
A real man cries, right? So, look, you're getting love from the people that's watching right now, because, so at some point in time, some of them have experienced grief too, or have experiences in loss. And so, it's just another way for us to be able to put a big old hug around you too. So
I appreciate it.
My hope and my prayer is that you'll be able to find ways to keep pushing, and hopefully not avoid, just find ways to embrace and find easier ways to cope. And you always can reach out to me too as well. But yeah, so knowing that you have gone through now, I know you're on this sober journey, right? Yes. And before I get back to that, let me go back and put this up, because Look, we got as a Dr. Renee Mentor, she's a psychotherapist. She says, as a psychotherapist, he is speaking truth. Grief is real, which is true. Very, very true. But since you've been on this sober journey, now there's one thing that you pinpointed, and you said now that you're back, like you was in your first marriage, where family, you're back with your family, those kind of things, and your children and your wife is important to you, that plate. So having your family and your children as the main focus is what's keeping you sober, would you say?
Yes. Because with all the stuff that I've been battling mentally, depression and everything else, it's plenty of times where I'm at a grocery store and I can pass by the aisle and I'll be like, and then I said, no, because I got to be here for them. It's not going to do me any good to sit here and go drink. I know people say, oh, you can have a beer, have one, but then you have that one. Then you have another. Then you say, okay, I don't want beer. I want hard liquor or whatever. And then once you start that, and I'll be done. And I got daughters, and 2 little ones here, and my wife. And who knows to say I'm all emotional, whatever. What could happen after that? So no. I just drive. I guess my therapy would be when I'm in a depressed mood or whatever. I drive. I get in one of my cars, or I go to the track and I drive, and that's what keeps me from going back where I was before.
I'm glad you mentioned it. So that's one of your ways to, not only is your family one of those ways, and that was going to lead into my next question, asking you, but what are some of the things or some of the steps that you've taken to make sure that you stay sober? Because I know it'd be times where, you might go hang out with some friends or some family and they're drinking, right? Yeah. And they might try to tempt you with a drink here or there. So, besides, going out and taking a ride and also keeping your family as a forefront, for just somebody who could be watching right now that could be dealing with, alcoholism, or someone who is trying to stay on track and not relapse, what would you say to them? How would you, or what steps would you give them to make sure that they don't relapse or make sure that they do quit?
You have to find something that you're passionate about, not something that's, all the stuff that I went through. If I focus on everything that gets me down, then I'm gonna go buy this stuff and I'm gonna be drinking. But I find I have to focus on what I like to do. I like to drive. I like to race. I like photography. It keeps me busy. It keeps me calm. It fights the depression that I might slip up and fall into and all. And so my advice to anybody that's battling whatever issues that they're going through, you got to find something that you're passionate about to get you out. So if you like to write, just write. If you like to go for walks, go for a walk. But you can't find yourself being depressed and pull you back down into that situation. Because if you do that, you're not only affecting yourself, you're affecting your family, and then you can have a lot of, if you post it on social media, you'll have a lot of people like, oh, I got your back, brother. If you need anything, give me a call. I'd have tried to call some of those people before and they didn't answer their phone. Or I hit you back, I'm pretty busy. I'd have messaged some people. Hey man, I need to talk. I even one time called the veterans suicide hotline. I was messed up in the head. And this was recently. And guess what they told me? They just asked me how was I planning on taking my life? That's what they asked me. The VA hospital. So I had to bounce back from that. I had a couple things that brought me back though, but I just said you got to find something passionate. Look at your family. Just, I got a 3-year-old daughter and 11-year-old daughter at the house, and I got older kids that's already grown. I have to pull out my phone and look at a picture of them and say, okay, all right, time to stand up and get back into the fight. Because if not, it's easy. It can pull me back to drinking, or it can pull me to something even worse than that.
That's so very true. And one of the things that I heard you say was finding things that you love to do, right? or
Yeah.
find a new hobby. Alcohol doesn't always have to be present for you to enjoy and have a good time. And, and we'll get into this in a few minutes after our next commercial break. With you being sober, you mentioned talking about photography and the love for racing and all those different things, right?
Yes.
And when you find that hobby can turn not only be something that you enjoy doing, but it can also lead you into entrepreneurship and lead you into another stream of income. So we'll get into that too.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true.
We'll definitely get into that too as well. So I really am thankful for you sharing just the information that you have shared, even with the steps on how to stay sober and those kind of things. And I also wanted to really put this on the page too as well, so people can see that there is help out there. So if you're someone who's dealing with, alcohol and not sure where to turn or anything like that, of course, I would say to make sure that you reach out to someone that is an expert or has experience in that. But I will also pop up on the screen information too as well of where they can reach out to. There's the alcohol addiction hotline, alcohol.org, where they can help you with treatment, put you in the right direction, maybe also refer you to a local hotlines or centers near in your local area. But this is at least one resource that I'm able to provide today for anyone who's looking for help or who may need help, or if you know someone who's in need of help. So again, alcohol addiction hotline, www.alcohol.org. So sober, before we get into some questions, because I want to leave room after that, we'll go into what you have coming up, what you're doing before we end the show. So if it's okay, we're going to go ahead and go to another commercial break because I want to make sure that my sponsors are highlighted. Our next sponsor for today's show is GoFig Company, www.gofig.com, and we'll be right back.
Hey guys, I am Rita M. Green, owner of GoFig Co., a boutique digital marketing and project management firm. We specialize in email marketing, social media campaigns and management, website design, graphic design, email marketing, Dubsado setup, and more. Administrative tasks especially. We are here to take the hassle out of your hustle and just to get things done, period. So if you're in need of another set of hands, a second pair of eyes, or a fourth or a fifth or a sixth, we are here to assist you with all of your needs. Again, I'm Rita M. Green, owner of GoFig Co., and we would love to serve you, your business, and your brand. You can connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn at GoFig. Go is spelled GeauxFig. You can also see us online at www.gofig.com. Check out what we have to say, and also check out our blog where all of our articles that we post online are located. Plus, you can see our portfolio of completed works. We'd love for you to check those out as well. If you'd like to check with me, if you'd like to connect with me personally, I am Rita M. Green on LinkedIn. I hope you have a fantastic day. Go win the day. Go for the gold. And bye-bye.
All right, and we are back. And again, that was GoFig Company, www.gofig.com. I just seen a comment that just popped up, and I want to pop this up on the screen for you, Sober. This comment is from Frank Henderson, and he said, it would be amazing to see him find a great therapist that could aid him in his dilemma. Drinking was a manifestation of the fruit of something bothering or hindering him on a deep level. A good therapist can treat him for the root of the real hindrance in his heart. To hear him say he called the suicide hotline recently screams of his need for professional help. He's a very good man. His essence is tangible. I can feel it. It's time for him to sit down with a professional. Hashtag respect brother sober.
I appreciate that.
So I asked if anybody has any questions, they can go ahead and drop that down in the comments section. And if they pop up, I'll bring them up. But let's talk about look. Dr. Nicole Peters says Dr. Renee Mentor is a good one. Look, she's referring you already. We got some great people on the show. So thank you, Dr. Peters. So my question now is what's going on with Sober Now? So what's going on with Sober Now? What things you have going on? Tell people about what you do in your business and any upcoming events that you have coming up.
Okay. What I have going on now is, of course, with being retired, I have a business, as you already put out at the beginning of the show. I focus on photography, and also I focus on the local car scene. I have a strong network. I have teams in Germany, in Austria. I have teams in the Philippines, Canada, Bulgaria. I have teams and what we do is, of course, here in the States as well. What we do is we go around for the local car scene and we promote what everybody loves to do: car meets, car events, modeling, and everything else. We give a lot of people praises where a lot of the big magazines, they kind of look down on certain car enthusiasts, but I don't do that. Once I go to a car show, I get the invitation. I bring either one of my cars, as you see in the background, my Maserati. I bring one of my cars, bring my camera, and I just go ahead and take pictures of everybody events there. Before, I used to host a lot of car shows. Starting out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, I was raising a lot of money for a lot of different charities. Friends of the Cancer Center. Reason why I did that is because, they deal with a lot of cancer patients, and that money that I helped raise with them help with mammograms, help with wigs, and all that, help for food. It doesn't help for the cure. It helps for one thing I was told about cancer, dealing with my parents and my sister, is that when you worry a lot, the cancer spreads. Cancer wants you to worry. So when you're fighting it and all that, that's why I work with the Friends of the Cancer Center. So if you're worrying about paying the bill, we help raise money for you didn't have to pay that bill. You worried about getting a ride to your treatment facility, we raise money to make sure that you got that. If you wanted to improve your looks because you lost your hair through chemo or radiation therapy, we help raise money for you can get those wigs and all. So that's what we did with the Friends of the Cancer Center. St. Jude, I have a shirt that I wear a lot of times. It said, "This shirt saves lives." I donate money to them as well. And then, of course, being a veteran, going through the stuff that I go through mentally and all that, Wounded Warrior Project has been there for me 100%. So that's what I do. So I'm always going to different events. I'll be at an event this weekend in Enos, Texas at Texas Motorplex. I'll be out there promoting my magazine and also just interviewing car enthusiasts and all that and showcasing what they're doing. So that's what I do now.
Wow, that's awesome to hear that you're doing great things. And look, I was eardropping. You said the Philippines. I was not aware of that, sir.
Yes. I have a team out there in Manila, Philippines. They do a lot of local car scenes. I'll send you some pictures, and you will see it says 2DM Rides Manila. They sponsor the car scenes out there for me. COVID kind of stopped us a little bit, but now we're back at it again. And so they go out there and they promote 2DM Rides in the Philippines. Yes.
Wow, that's awesome. So you're doing some great things. And I mean, even just what you talk about with the cancer and being able to help raise funds for events and things is that, because that's so important, because what you'll find is even with cancer or people who deal like Wounded Warriors, they have their programs, but it's always good to have the community also help raise money where there's need. Because of course, we know with insurance, everything is not always covered, and it can become a financial strain. So thank you so much for what you and your company is doing in the community. And I just want to go back and try to highlight some of the comments that have come in while you were speaking. Dr. Renee Mentors mentioned, she said, "I think it is important for us to support our Black kings who are willing to show their vulnerability." Felice Gillum, she says, God has his hands on you. Keep speaking your truth and focusing on positive things.
Thank you.
Dr. Renee, again, others are gleaning from him. Darissa, congratulations on your business venture.
Thank you.
Nicole says, Dr. Nicole Peter says, God bless you. Then you have, what a blessing. God bless you for what you do, sober. That is
Thank
from Darissa. And then, of
Thank you
course,
so much.
Dr. Renee Mentor, she's commenting again. She said, he is showing there is great work to be done after sorrow and while in recovery. Thank you for bringing him on. One great man. Look at that. You're getting some love. So we're getting some love.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, ladies. I really do. I really do. Thank you.
And of course, Paula says, great recovery and focus. Mavis says, wonderful work. So that's one of the things that you do, right? You continue to do the things that you're doing when it comes to still healing, still going through your grief waves and recovering, as Dr. Mentor mentioned, of course there's sorrow, right? And there's going to be, you're still in that recovery, but you're still doing a great thing and you're doing great work. And sometimes your best great work comes from your past trauma and your past pain, and so now, like you mentioned, you're global. You're not just here in the United States. I'm gonna go ahead and toot your horn. Your magazine and what you do with your photography, you have gone global. And yes, I do want the pictures, for Manila, Philippines. I want to see, right?
Yeah,
that's half of me. My mother's from the Philippines, so
I know.
So I just want to say, keep doing the great things that you're doing. And if there's ever a need where you need to reach out, whether it's to me, I mean, you have direct connect to me. You also, as doc, you got been referred to Dr. Renee Mentor, right? The psychotherapist. But then you have a lot of people. Now you have some friends here, right? You have some friends here from the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show who are rooting you on, right? Look, Judy Ambrose, James, continue to activate your faith. Now that lady right there, she had a stroke. She had a stroke and she is out there doing great things. She's using her voice, her stroke was very massive, but she's recovering, and she's now going out and telling her story, and sharing her smile.
I appreciate it. Thank
Darissa, Airman preach. Amen. Preach, Dr. Yolanda. That's Miss Darissa right there. I was saying doctor. I'm just gonna claim it. She's gonna be a doctor too. So if there's any last comments or any last things that you wanted to say to those who are watching, because some people took time out to listen to your story today, feel your heart, and know what you're going through. What do you want to say, to them? Any last thoughts, any last comments that you would like to leave with them today?
I would like to say thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to hear what I have to say, and it's still talking about is difficult. So please forgive me. As I told my friend here, it's really, really hard for me to talk about this. I really don't. I don't even talk to my other brothers and sisters too much about it because it's so hard. All of us got our different feelings. But for you to take your time out to actually come and leave me some advice and to move forward in life with blessings and keep faith, I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much for all of you guys. I really do appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And look, I'm glad you decided to open up on my show because I know you was like, I don't know if I want to talk about that.
No, but I really didn't. You already had some tears come on my eyes. I was trying to fight out. Like, I can't break down on this. I can't.
That's okay. Like I said, and like my daddy said, a real man cries, right? A real man cries. I thank you for, again, just being open, because I know it's not always easy to talk about your past pain. And, that's a whole thing about my show is, I want people to see that no matter what point in your life, there's always, just like we say, you got this storm, but right, the sun comes out even after that storm. The sun comes out, just like in the word, it says weep, we can weep at night, but joy comes in the morning, those things. So, I always look at it, we got a positive and a negative or better, but out of every negative situation, I always say to look for the positive in it, because it's always something positive you can pull out of a negative situation. Look at you. You got your nickname Sober. Why did you get your nickname Sober? Because you are sober right now. And I know your plan is to stay sober. Why? Because your family matters to you. Your family matters to you. And then your work now matters to you. You have a magazine. So what happens if you relapse? There goes your business. There goes your family, possibly, right? So, so I commend you just for, again, just being here, sharing your story. Hopefully others will catch the replay and hear your story too. And I look forward to what you have coming up in the future. I'm sure you got a lot more things. Stay in touch. So that way if I find out you're doing something and it's a way that I'm going to put it out there, Frank, that's the one I left you to comment. That is my significant other. He's very supportive in a lot of things that people do. He has a pastor. He's a pastor, so he has a pastor's heart. So it comes from a good place when he's making comments. Darissa says, God has not forgotten about you. Trust in him always. He's not done with you. My brother, I'm praying for you.
Thank you.
Paula says, hashtag Team Sober. That's right. Y'all drop that in the comments. Hashtag Team Sober. We got a new hashtag. Hashtag Team Sober.
Thank you.
Janice, she says, men, remember Jesus wept. That is so true. Oh my goodness. She hit the nail on the head right there. Very true.
She did. Yes, she did.
And Darissa says, the power of life and death is in the tongue. Hashtag sober. Being set free. He is a great man doing great things. We are rooting for him. We're rooting him on. Look, there it is. Here it comes. Team Sober.
Now you got me smiling too much now. Now you got me smiling
Team
too much.
Sober. They coming. Look. Thank you, Sober. Team Sober. God bless you.
Thank you.
Hashtag Team Sober. So as you can see, you have so many people that has embraced you, your story, and that will be praying and rooting for you even moving forward, to include myself and my family and Dr. Jerry's tribe, because there's a lot of people on here, hashtag Dr. Jerry's tribe too, that are on the show and follow the show every week after week, and I'm thankful for them. So again, thank you so much for being here. Let's stay in touch. Let's stay connected. Continue to share your story with the world, even while you're in your recovery process, because I believe when you share and you open your mouth and share your story, there is healing that takes place every time you talk about it.
Yes.
There's healing. I'll say that again. There's healing that takes place every time you talk about it. I know this to be true because of my own testimony, dealing with domestic violence and now being a survivor. Now you can't get me to shut up.
It's all right. It's all right. I appreciate you having me on your show. Thank you so much, sis. Thank you.
You're welcome. And Janice has trust the process. God got you. So thanks again. We're going to go ahead and conclude the show. I thank you all so much for tuning in this Thursday. Next Thursday, we have another special guest who also, oh my goodness, the title of his talk for next Thursday is From the Jailhouse to the Boardroom. So you all, that is going to be Mr. Reggie D. Smith. You got to tune in next Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, the Dr. Yolanda Jerry Show. Thank you all for so much for tuning in. And I'm going to go ahead and get ready to close. But if you need to reach out to me or need to contact me, you may do so. And I will go ahead and pop that information up as we get ready to close out. God bless and take care, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.